So it's recording now?
Yep.
Okay. So decentralized exchanges and automated market making. Important part of decentralized finance, being able to swap between tokens. So a decentralized exchange is a cryptocurrency exchange that exists as a protocol on a blockchain, such as Ethereum. And so on it, you can exchange one asset for another at a fair market price. And then the main benefit of it is that you're exchanging assets on chain in a decentralized way instead of through a centralized company, for example. And so the trades are executed through smart contracts, and settlement is on the blockchain, so it's decentralized. You don't really need to trust anything because you can see everything on the blockchain, see all the code yourself. So centralized versus decentralized. So a centralized exchange is run by a company normally. Trades are executed through an order book, which we'll look at soon. And you need to trust the exchange. You need to trust them to not get hacked, to be transparent, to be honest and stuff like that. And they also have know your customer requirements, which some people don't like. And yeah, they have to comply with government and like laws and everything like that. Whereas decentralized exchanges, they run on the blockchain. So because they're decentralized, they are, like I said before, they're trustless. You don't have to trust them because everything is right there in front of you. You can verify everything yourself. And you don't need to verify your identity. You can be anonymous with everything that you do. And the trades are executed through smart contracts, usually through liquidity pools. And then also the fees become available to earn for users. Like everyday users can become the ones who earn from providing liquidity rather than the centralized exchange being the one that makes all the money. So here we have popular centralized exchanges. Got our boy Sam Bankman-Fried and the Winklevoss twins. So yeah, I assume you guys know at least most of them. So how do centralized exchanges work? We have order books. And so basically an order book is a list of bids and asks. Bids saying, I want to buy the asset at this price, and then ask are, I want to sell the asset at this price. And so when someone fills the order, then that order is done. And so like, if you want to fill a bid, then you're selling to somebody. And so what I just said is a market order, an instant buy or sell. You just take a bid and then you can sell to that person that's bidding. And so when you do an instant buy, you're buying the lowest ask, or if you're selling to the highest bid to get the best price that you want. And then limit orders are just the bids and the asks that are in the order book. And so price is determined by the last trade. And so price moves when one side's orders are filled quicker than the other side order. And so like if there are lots of people buying something, they're gonna keep buying all of the asks in the order book. And so as the asks on the right side start to disappear because people are filling them, the price is starting to shift to the right. And so we can see an example live in Kraken Pro really quick. So here we have the order book with all of the bids and asks. Can't really see it that well with the projector, but yeah, and you can see the order book kind of visualized here. As you go up, you can see all of the asks where people are setting like basically like taking profit. We're like, okay, when Bitcoin goes up that high, I want to sell and secure my profit. And so that's why there's a lot more when you go up high. And then same thing at the bottom where people are saying, okay, if Bitcoin goes down this low, then I want to buy the dip basically. And so, yeah, that's how order books work. So popular decentralized exchanges. We have Uniswap, of course, that's the OG decentralized exchange that works on Ethereum. We have SushiSwap, which works on Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and some other chains. PancakeSwap, the most popular one on Binance Smart Chain. Trader Joe for Avalanche is also Pangolin, but personally, I like Trader Joe better. Curve, which is a DEX for mostly stable coins. It's like really made for being able to swap stable coins. And then Serum is like a framework for decentralized exchanges on Solana. So how do decentralized exchanges work? Well, because they're on the blockchain, obviously they're using smart contracts, which are just code that's on the blockchain that's run by miners. And so in the smart contracts, when it's run, it's basically a series of steps that just kind of move money around in a smart way that gives the desired results. And so the biggest, like most important part to understand is the liquidity pools. This is the main thing of everything that's happening in a decentralized exchange. And so in a broad sense, it's a pool of both sides of a trading pair. So you have two assets in a trading pair, and then they're put into a pool, and then that's called the liquidity. I'll explain that more soon. And so the liquidity pools allow for better pricing compared to like bartering, for example. You say like, I have Bitcoin, I want Ethereum. Instead of doing like a peer-to-peer exchange, peer-to-peer exchanges might be less accurate because some people may be like, I don't have enough Ethereum to fulfill one Bitcoin's worth. And you say, well, okay, it's the best I can get. And then you get less than you wanted. And so because of that, so like because of the liquidity, you can have a lower price impact and lower slippage. I'll talk about that stuff later. And so the result of the smart contracts and the liquidity pools is the automatic market maker. When all this works, you don't need an order book, and it can run 24/7 on a chain like Ethereum, for example. Yes.
So why don't centralized exchange use sort of the same mechanism?
Because I mean, order books, just like by virtue that they're like an older thing, they just kind of developed differently. Like liquidity pools were developed out of the need to not use an order book, because order books, if they were on like a blockchain, it would be very costly because it's a big list of a lot of bids and asks. And so that amount of data would be very costly to maintain on the blockchain. Yeah.
The decentralized exchanges that you mentioned,
Mhm.
do they exclude fiat?
Yes, in a way. You can only exchange if you want to exchange with fiat, you have to use stable coins. So decentralized exchanges are not a way to onboard fiat into crypto. You're gonna have to do that through some other means. Yep. All right, so the automated market making. So users provide liquidity to a pool to create a market. These people that provide their assets, in return, they earn fees from the trades that happen with the liquidity that they provide. And so the price of the tokens is determined by a formula. And so usually the most common formula that we see is the balance of token A times the balance of token B in the pool is equal to a constant K, or simplified to X times Y equals K. And so K is a constant value that cannot be changed by a trade. It can only be changed by the addition or subtraction of liquidity to the pool. And so this formula, X times Y equals K, it creates a Y equals K over X curve, as we can see there. And so trades cause price movement along the curve. And then the price is determined by the liquidity that's in the pool. So this is a bit complicated when it's like really broad general overview. So we're going to do a worked example. Board. It's over here again. Is everyone able to see this? Okay. Okay, so we want to make a market using the equation that I just said. So we have x times y equals k. So that's just there for later. So we want to create a liquidity pool for the imaginary token UMN, and we want to have it paired with a stable coin called MIM, which is Magic Internet Money. It's a cool new stable coin. And so basically we're just denominating it in the dollar. So external markets price UMN at $2. Wait, hold on, let me draw the pool real quick. So we have basically our pool with half UMN. This will be the UMN side. And then we have the MIM side. So when we start out, we want to fill it in a way that we want to have the ratio of UMN to MIM at the right proportions that it'll be priced at $2, because the external markets, for example, say that it's $2. Like a centralized exchange, people have been trading it already, and they say it's $2. So because of that, we want to have 1,000. We want to maintain a ratio of 1 UMN to 2 MIM. And so, for example, we can add 500 UMN and 1,000 MIM. So this is 1,000, and then we add 500 here. And so first we want to stop and ask, why do I add 500 UMN and 1,000 MIM? Why should I not add 1,000 UMN, for example? Yes.
Maintain the price ratio.
Yeah, you want to have the right ratio. Like for example, if you put 1,000 UMN, that would mean that UMN would be $1, and so that would create a opportunity for arbitrage, and so arbitragers will see that and be like, "Oh, cheap UMN," scoop it all up, and then change the liquidity to be the fair market price, which is $2, and so that actually causes impermanent loss for you, which I will talk about later. It's so yeah, you're incentivized to add liquidity at a ratio that reflects the fair market price. So now that we have our liquidity pool, we can plug these numbers into the equation. So we have 500. Okay, so we have 500 UMN times 1,000 MIM. So we have our constant is, oh wait, that's not a good idea. Okay, so our constant is now 500,000. And so we're gonna want to keep that in the future. So keep that in mind. So let's say you want to buy UMN. Okay. So you want to buy $100 worth. So you swap 100 MIM for UMN. So what happens now? Your 100 MIM is now added to the pool. So I'm just gonna so you have your 100 pool. And so So now the y in our equation changes. We have x prime and y prime. And then that y prime is 1,100. But then you're added 100. And so we have x prime times 100 is 500,000. And so we can calculate the new x to be, what was it, 454. Like that. That's what you, yep. Okay, so now that we know our new x, so this is our new liquidity pool. So where did the UMN go? It went to you. So we take the before and the after. So we do x minus x prime. So that's 500 minus 400. So you end up with about 45. So that is how the trade works. Yes.
Well, couldn't you cheat the system with it? Because like instead of doing the bulk like $100, giving $100 every time, would you give you that ratio? Like you can just put it $1 at a time.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So you're saying if you just exchange one MIM at a time,
Right.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So that would actually have the same, if you did 100 of those trades, it would have the same effect because the starting liquidity is still low. If you do 100 of those trades, you're still going to end up with this kind of price impact, which we'll talk about later. If the starting liquidity was higher, like 1 million, then you would get a better price. You would get closer to 50 UMN. So, yeah, does that answer your question? Okay. So,
Is that correct?
what?
So you're saying that you would end up paying the same amount? Like I'll work out some math and check.
Okay.
I feel like there would be a difference in doing it gradually versus all at once.
Big.
Yeah, it should be an exponential. Can go on.
Okay.
It'll take me a second.
So, question, what is it? Yes.
So you wanted to trade 100 MIM, right?
Yeah.
So you got 45 back.
Yeah. So,
Doesn't that go up the 1 to 2 ratio?
yes. So that brings me to the question. What is the new price, or how much did you pay for each UMN? That ties into what you asked. So, I'm not gonna make you guys do the math. It's like $2.20 because it's 100 divided by 45.45. And so we're gonna talk about why that happens in a couple slides. And then the other question is, what is the new price of UMN? And so basically, to find the new price, you just do y divided by x, or wait, yeah, y divided by x, and you get about 2.42. So yeah, there's that trade, and then we can visualize this on the graph like so. So you can see that the price before, you can see the coordinates there. It was 500 to 1,000, and then now it's 454 and 1,100. And you can see the price moved up. Any questions about that so far? Okay. So yeah, like what Jakob was saying, hold up, like you didn't get 50. Like what's up with that? So the reason why we did not get 50 UMN was because the liquidity was low enough that our trade impacted the price. So our trade was literally like 100 MIM. That's 10% of the liquidity of MIM that was in there. So that means our price impact was 10%. And then why did your trade impact the price so much? Like I said, because the liquidity was very low. Any questions about price impact and like low liquidity and stuff like that? All right, cool. So, we disregarded fees in this example just for simplicity. So in reality, like on Uniswap, for example, they have a 0.3% fee for every trade. And so what happens with that fee is that it's added to the K actually. And so the K value increases. And so what that does is that it actually gives the fees to the liquidity providers. So the liquidity providers, when they provide liquidity, they receive a liquidity provision token in return that represents their share of the pool. And so when they redeem their share of the pool, they'll get their share of K. And so when K is increased by the fees, that means they'll get those fees in return when they withdraw their liquidity. And so you can see in the graphs that the curve is actually shifted when there are fees implemented. So yeah, I think that's it for that for fees. And so slippage. A problem that happens in decentralized exchanges is slippage. And so basically a slippage is when the market price changes from the time that you put in your order and the time that it actually trades and executes. It could be good or bad. You could get a better price, you could get a worse price. And it's a big issue on Ethereum, for example, because it takes like 12 seconds or something like that between each block. And so between that time, the price could change a lot. And it also happens, slippage also happens a lot when the liquidity is very low. Like we impacted the price 10%. So yeah, yes.
Originally, when you looked at the centralized exchanges to
Mhm.
set your ratio
Yeah.
for 2 to 1, is that something that you have to do constantly, or do you just do that at the beginning?
So yeah, no, you don't have to do that constantly. So because if the price in our market deviates from other markets, people will see an arbitrage opportunity. And so because of that arbitrage opportunity, people will trade on our market, and then eventually it'll shift back to the normal market price. So that's how like different exchanges can keep the pretty same prices pretty close to each other. It's because if there's differences in those prices, then it can create an opportunity, and then people trade it back to the regular price. Yeah.
And here we're assuming that all prices, orders that we place are limit.
What's that?
We're placing limit orders, correct? It's when the market price changes from the time that you place the order to the time that. Are you assuming it's limit orders that they get?
No, this is actually for market orders. So like, let's say you just put in a market order buy, and then it takes like a few seconds for your order to execute for whatever reason, and it goes up a lot. You're ending up fulfilling or taking a ask that was lower than what you originally intended to. Answer your question. Yeah, you can take advantage of this kind of thing, but Uniswap does have like slippage tolerance. If the slippage is greater than like whatever you set it to, like 1%, for example, then it won't execute. All right, so impermanent loss. I mentioned this earlier. So simply put, impermanent loss is the difference between holding your tokens in the liquidity pool versus holding them in your wallet. So when you provide liquidity to a liquidity pool and the price of your assets change compared to when you deposited them, So these words don't mean very much, so I'll do another example. So going back to our market. So we provided 500 real men and 1,000 MAM. In dollars, that's $2,000. So that's the value of our assets before. And so let's say people really like this token. They drive up the demand, and the market says that the amount is worth $10. Well, now arbitrageurs trade in our market and naturally bring the price up to $10. So now we have 200. So this would be after pool. Now we have 203 and then 2,000. So in dollars, that is 4,402. And so between these numbers, we profited, right? We profited, but kind of didn't in a way, because if we simply held our UMN, which was $2 right here, and now it's $10, we would have had, so we have 1,000 here, and then 23. So this would be 2,230, and this would be 5,000. So we ended up having a impermanent loss. Oh wait, it says 6,000 worth of the token. So that is a $1,528 impermanent loss. So yeah, any questions about?
In what ways is loss impermanent?
So the loss is impermanent. It's not really a good, it's kind of a misnomer because it's like assuming it's only impermanent if the price goes back. If the price goes back, then you didn't really lose. So I don't know. Not really good way to put that, but yeah. So how do we make up for this loss? Well, fees could make up for the loss, but we would need like $500,000 in trading volume in our market to make up for that loss. But who's gonna be trading of that, right? So there's that example where you actually lose, but this does not always happen actually. For example, if you have stable coins, I don't even think I have to draw this really because it's much easier to visualize in your head. Obviously, DAI or stable coins like DAI and USDC, they're $1 each, and so the prices aren't really changing, and so that means you don't really experience a loss. So let's say we have 1,000 DAI and 1,000 USD, and in the liquidity pool, $2,000, and people swap their DAI for USD and vice versa. People are trading back and forth, and it maintains the 1-to-1 ratio. We collect 0.3% per trade, and then after $1 million in trading volume, we earn $3,000, and we experience zero impermanent loss because DAI and USDC are both worth $1 always. And so our ratio remains the same, and we profited only. So that's pretty cool. All right, so now we have problems with trading on decentralized exchanges. Traders can fall victim to these attacks. The first one is a rug pool. I'm sure many of us have heard of this one. And so basically how it goes is someone mints a new coin. For example, ours is UMN. It's practically worthless when you mint it, obviously. And so you create a liquidity pool for the pair, UMN versus Ethereum or Ether, for example, and you receive your liquidity provision tokens. And then so you attract people, like we get other students to buy into our token. And so they trade with Ether to buy UMN. And so as they buy, as we've seen in the example, if they buy with the denominated currency, it adds to the pool. And so when we get lots of Ether to our pool, we now return our liquidity provision tokens and get our share of the pool back. And so we earn more Ether and we profited because we just kind of stole Ether from people. Yeah.
Is there any way that you lose money from it?
I guess if people, if for some reason people had the token that you minted and they sold it, then you would lose your Ether.
But like, if you are the only one who owns it, then is there literally like no?
Pretty much. That is why you have to trust what you're buying and then make sure that the people, there's not just one main liquidity provider. It's lots of different people providing the liquidity there.
Did you say there's only one person buying and each was
What do you mean?
like, are you saying that if only one person is like, I mean, it's kind of like almost like inventory.
Well, I mean, it could be done with like multiple people, but I don't know, for the sake of the example, it's just like just you being the liquidity provider. But yeah, I guess.
I suppose we get like 10 people to work together, but you split it up to 10 people. So the whole time it's like a shit ton, and you provide the-
Yeah.
it's a bit-
I mean, you'll profit more yourself if you're the only one, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's your share, it's like you profit proportional to what you put in. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Another attack that's pretty common is a sandwich price attack. And so in this scenario, user A wishes to purchase 5 UMN tokens, which is priced at $2 on a decentralized exchange. And then so when they put in that order, it's a transaction on the blockchain. And so, well, not yet on the blockchain. When they put in their order, it goes to the mem pool, which is where all the transactions are put for miners to take transactions to put into a block. And so user B observes the mempool and sees your transaction sitting there. And so user B front runs you by buying 50 UMN tokens with a higher gas fee. And because of the higher gas fee, user B's transaction executes before yours. And so user B, their transaction pushes up the price of UMN because of how much they bought. And then user A's transaction executes at the higher price. And then user B sells, just dumps their tokens basically at the higher price. They profited, but it's only worth it if user A's trade is big. Because if user A's trade does not really impact the price much, then there's really no point in sandwiching them.
That's just usually like a small bit.
Yeah, I guess if in smaller liquidity pools, it's very easy to impact the price. So I guess it's smarter to do that there. But really, it really just depends on the percent of the price impact. If bigger trades are happening on bigger liquidity pools, then it could be the same as smaller trades on smaller liquidity pools. Yeah.
I get confused between market orders and limit orders.
Mhm.
Putting in like percent by having a market or a limit order saying like if the price goes over this much, then don't buy anything.
Say that
Like for
again.
example, you wanted to buy a coin for $5,
Mhm.
and then you have the limit order saying if it goes above like 1% of your asking price, then you're not going to buy it.
It's basically slippage tolerance, right? I was gonna ask if you set the slippage tolerance so very low. As user 8, you could prevent this from happening.
Yes, that's correct. But to answer your question,
I think it's the same.
oh, that's the same question.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I think to prove that what you said was correct.
Yes, you were correct. The way that you break up the order does not matter since the product is invariant.
Mhm.
And the integral is probably very pretty.
Thank you for verifying that. So I believe that is the end. This presentation was already posted in Discord actually. If you guys want to take a look at it and see the references used, and then also I added links to some of these decentralized exchanges, and so I wanted to show one example of it. So this is Uniswap. This is the interface for swapping. So let's say we want to swap like Ether to like USDC, for example. That's what it'd look like. You put how much, and then it'll fill it in. And then yeah, you can come up here to the settings and then set your slippage tolerance. Usually or default is 0.5%. And you can also set a deadline and other stuff. What's expert mode? Jeez. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any difference, but yeah. Let's take a look at pool. Okay. Last time I was on here, it wasn't working. So let's see what we can see about these pools. So this pool wrapped Bitcoin and Ether. We can see the total value locked. So TVL, if you ever see that, that's total value locked. That's just how much money is in the protocol. And so you can see that there's 3.3 thousand wrapped Bitcoin and 36.47 thousand Ether. And so you can see that liquidity providers total over the past 24 hours earned almost $100,000. So yeah. Anything else you guys notice about this? Yeah. Oh wow. I actually don't really know how to read this chart. Do you understand what's going on in this chart? I can't tell what the X and Y axis are.
I think there's a y-axis.
I think
just a
the
model.
x-axis is time over 24 hours, and the y-axis might be the price.
I no.
I feel like the x-axis is the price and the y-axis is the value. Like how much we can buy within this price range. So like,
Oh yeah. Cause okay, I was gonna say, so I figured it out. So I was gonna talk about Uniswap v3, but as I was doing reading the documentation, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to explain this. And so when I clicked on this and I was like, why, like I kind of expected it to be like curvy, right? But so Uniswap v3, it's very staggered like this because it introduces concentrated liquidity. And so people can make their capital more efficient by providing liquidity into a certain interval. So hopefully we can see this in Where is it? DAI USDC liquidity. Hopefully I'm correct. Okay, I am correct. Yes, this is good. Okay, so because DAI and USDC are both worth $1, it wouldn't make sense for liquidity, or it would, I'm just gonna say it makes sense for liquidity to be concentrated into the 99 cent to $1 1 cent range, right? Because it's always going to exchange at about $1. So you can see all the liquidity is right there in that range. And so obviously no one's providing liquidity at ranges that are way out of that interval. So hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain what like concentrated liquidity means and what liquidity being spread out even means, because I don't even really understand what that means. So yeah. Any questions about this topic? Any thoughts?
Sandwich attack. Classify as an-
Oh, the minor extracted value. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good point. So going back to the sandwich attack that we're talking about. Oops. So the sandwich price attack. Yeah, so so when I say with a higher gas fee, that can actually be substituted with bribing a miner directly. That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah, so people can actually bribe the miners and just tell them to put their transaction into it directly. And this could also happen vice versa. Like user A could bribe the miner to skip the mempool, so that way user B doesn't see their transaction at all. So that's a way to protect against sandwich attacks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. So that's a way to prevent that attack. Do you know if there's any way to prevent like a rug pull? There's no way, right? Okay. Yeah, don't invest in craft coins, I guess.
Thank you for the.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we prepared like food today. Feel free to grab some sandwiches.